Uh, First of all, I would like to make a few clarifications about the history of literature as we see it or as we are studying it. When I say Renaissance or when we discuss Renaissance, we refer to a period, a time period that begins from 1485 or 1480s roughly, and it runs up till 1660. And Renaissance period includes uh, two or three ages, the ages of the kings and queens. When I say why we say that Renaissance started at the year 1485, because it is the year when the War of Roses came to an end. And England, which was now called England, at that time it was called England, and there was no more England or there was no more the Anglo-Saxon area or such, something like this. And as you know, that nationalism arose during the time of 100 years of war with France. And in 1485, a new line of kings came to England, and they were called the Tudors. And you know that Henry VIII, he started from 1509, and he after him came his son Edward the Sixth, and then uh, maybe I think I should write them. I'm writing them in chat so you can see. And then we have after Edward Sixth, we have his daughter, the daughter of Henry the Eighth, and she was a sister of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, and her name was Mary. And then the illustrious queen, the Queen Elizabeth, she ascended to the throne uh, in the year 1558, and she reigned for about till 1603. And this is the period which is known as the Elizabethan Age. But the Renaissance does not end at 1603. Now you can see the dates which I have written in the chat. Okay, and by then, uh, sorry, here I was. Yes, I was telling about the after the age of Elizabeth, King King James I, he came to the throne, and at that time it was called the Puritan Age, or and after the Puritan Age came the Restoration, and all of these periods are considered under the one great period known as the Renaissance, because Renaissance is the term which is uh, not politically assigned. It is a term which was assigned to the whole Europe, and it is assigned to a point in history when everyone was reviving. What should I repeat? Voice issues. Okay, you can reconnect, please. So, where I was. Okay, please don't interrupt me when I'm speaking because I'm not speaking while looking at some notes. So, yes, King's James one, and King James I ascended to the throne, and he was a Protestant king, as you all know. He supported the Protestants. And during the time of Queen Elizabeth, there was a, it was a unique time in the English history. Sorry, I was not talking about James one. I was talking about Renaissance. Why we call it Renaissance? Renaissance is broadly a term broadly assigned to a time period of English literature or to a time period in European history when everyone was turning back to the classical literature of Greek and Latin writers. And it began in Italy, as we all know, and later on it came to France and spread all over the Europe, and then later on it came to England. England was the last one to receive it, but England uh, took a great advantage from this Renaissance movement. And why England gained a lot of advantage and lot of momentum from this? Because the political situation in England was quite different and quite favorable as compared to the political situation in the other countries of Europe. And it was partly due to Queen Elizabeth and partly due to the commercialization which was going on in the English people at that time. And in England, it was a very high time for commercialism, as we all know. So now I would like to summarize the Renaissance age or the Renaissance period in 4 or 5 points. Number one, it was an age which is marked by humanism. Humanism is an idea that humanism humanism is an idea that mankind or man is the center of the universe. And when we say the man is the center of the universe, then we mean that church is no longer relevant in that sense as it was in the previous centuries. Previously, the church was the center, and individualism is not humanism. Individualism is something else. Center of universe. Man is the center of universe, and humanism involves the idea that man is born free of church, and he is bound to follow his reason. So, what was the in the previous centuries, the driving force of human beings was emotion, was emotionalism with church, emotional attachment with church. But now, with humanism, the attachment of human beings became, the attachment of human beings converted to reason. So reason is more important than emotion now. And people are thinking more and more about new and innovative ideas rather than sticking to their conventional church ideas or their Christian ideas. So humanism is a marked difference from the previous centuries to this one, to this age. And then the second important incident or the characteristic of this age is reformation of the church. Reformation. When I say Reformation, you all know from our previous lectures, if you if you remember, Reformation is a point when King Henry VIII broke off with the Roman Catholic Church and established a new church, which was named as the Anglican Church or the Church of England. And the church was no longer the center of power, but the king was the center of the power. And humanism, along with Reformation, these are they were hand in hand and they were in collaboration with each other to establish a new sort of mentality in England, which we call secularism. Or secularism was in the beginning at that time because people were no longer attached to the religion so much as they used to be, and this secularism literally began or really began in the age of Elizabeth. Before that, we do not see that secular literature is being written or people are turning secular. Nothing of this sort happened. But when the reign of Queen Elizabeth started, she was a queen with a religious tolerance, and she never beheaded anyone for this for Protestantism or for Catholicism, as King Henry had done before him and all the others. And she was very liberal sort of woman, and because it was an age of exploration and innovation and reason, so secularism was established during that time. The third important point is the exploration of the world. As we all know, Christopher Columbus went out and he went out to explore India, but he discovered America or West Indies. West Indies are actually uh, a group of islands which is situated near America. And West Indies people, originally the American people and the West Indies people, they are black. They are red in color, or you can say they are black, or or they are tan skins. And when English people went there, they colonized them, and that is why you see they exterminated all the black people, or they made them slaves, or they just killed them, and that is why you see American white people now. And but West Indies people are still black, and but they speak English, and they speak English because they were colonized by the English, and their language was destroyed, and it was completely destroyed. Unlike the case of Urdu and Punjabi and all the other languages that existed in the subcontinent. So the exploration was a major reason of innovative ideas, and it was because when they interacted with the other people and they came to know that the world is not contained within uh, the whole Europe, and when they came to know that the world is far bigger than they first knew, and they started thinking in different terms, and it also gave birth to the scientific inventions that started during that time. And the fourth one is the point that it was the time of discoveries. It was the time of discoveries. So why I'm telling all these things again and again? Because whenever you are posed with certain questions in MCQs, and and if you don't know the exact answer, then you can uh, do some guesswork, but this guesswork should be based on real knowledge. And if you understand and know all the ages, then you can easily understand uh, any work or any writer when you are presented with it. And you will see this when we are done with the whole history, and you will be able to answer maximum questions because of your understanding of the history. And now I think many people asked me in before that they were confused about Renaissance age, or they think that Elizabethan age and Renaissance age is one and the same thing, but this is not the case. Renaissance is a broader term in which we have a few ages. We have the reigns of a few kings and queens. And when we speak about literature, then we come to Renaissance literature is the period when it was written, the literature which was written before the accession of Queen Elizabeth. And when Queen Elizabeth took control of England, then it is called Elizabethan literature because it was a period of flourishing, it was a period of great liberty and ease and luxury, and that is why the literature of the age is quite dominant. And then we have Puritan age and Puritans, as you all know, maybe I think all of you must know that Puritans were quite strict people, and they were the hard form or the strict form of the Protestants, and they were the ones who uh, destroyed the whole theater, the drama, and they never allowed drama to be displayed or shown to people. And they were very conservative. And then we have the Restoration, when the throne was restored and the Puritans were thrown off. And they were actually sent to America. The Puritans were sent to America, and they established their colony, uh, New England, over there. So at this point, where we are now, we don't have America and we don't have the American literature. So there is nothing to be worried about uh, the American literature or something like this. So now we come to Elizabethan age. There are a few things which you must know about Queen Elizabeth's age. Elizabethan age was an age of intellectual liberty and an age of contentment, social contentment, you can say. And when I say social contentment, I do not mean that there were no more tribulations or tough times, or there were no more bad political situations. There were a few situations, but these were these all of these were happily resolved, or they ended happily, or they were crushed by the government. So they did not do so much harm. And when we say that it is a period of social contentment, we are saying it in comparison to the ages that went past by. Because previously we had 100 years of war with France and war of roses and also Black Death. And then there was a peasants' revolt also. But Elizabethan age was free from all of these things. So the first point is, or the first point to remember is that it was an age of social contentment and it was an age of intellectual liberty. If any one of you is finding a problem with voice, he or she can listen to the recording, which I will send after the lecture. And then we have in this age, the most characteristic feature of this age was the religious tolerance, which was managed by Queen Elizabeth. In the court, she had the Protestants as well as the Catholics, and she worked with them, with both of them, very well. And it was a time of religious tolerance, and no one wanted to cut the heads of others. And at this time, the Europe was not very much at ease like England because they had no Elizabeth, and there was no religious tolerance in their lives, and the Protestants and Catholics were constantly in fight, or there was a constant sort of tension at that time. But in England, Queen Elizabeth was quite able to manage the religious tolerance between both of these parties, and she consulted both of these parties whenever there was a problem, and she never faced anything very cruel or very hard or something strict like all the kings and the queens before her. So the third thing is religious tolerance. And then uh, during this time, uh, when she ascended to the throne, the Spanish Armada was defeated. And now you must know something about the Spanish Armada. Spanish Armada was Spain was a superpower, or if not a superpower, then a very considerable power in Europe at that time. And Spain had uh, Armada, or a fleet of ships, which was a fleet of very formidable ships. They were warships, and they used to plunder and loot, and they were uh, like the kings of the sea, the Spanish crew. And anyone who wanted to cross the channel, anyone who wanted to cross Europe and enter into Asian waters or enter into the other world as it was called at that time, they had to pay tributes to the Spanish people, the Spanish Armada, or and also the King Philip of Spain at that time. Spain was ruled by the king named Philip, and he was a Catholic. So there were two things now. He was Catholic, and England had a church of its own. So there was no religious tolerance for him, or sort of religious affection or affiliation. Secondly, it was a time when everything was flourishing, and people in England were concerned about their commerce, their trade, and they were flourishing. And Spanish Armada stood as a very, you can say, it was a obstruction in their way of trade, in the way of free trade, because they wanted tributes, and it was a constant source of tension for the English fleet, or anyone, any ship that was going that way. So Spanish Armada was defeated, and when it was defeated, everyone in England was very happy, and it was obvious that they must be happy. And the person, I think it was uh, Drake. The name of the destroyer was Drake. I think it was the name. And if any one of you knows the name, then please mention it. And Drake was the one who destroyed Armada, or if I forget the name, you can correct me. And when Spanish Armada was defeated, the people or Queen Elizabeth's rule was strengthened, and she became a stable queen. And as far as few insurrections at that time, or riots, or you can say rebellion, was concerned, one important incident I would like to mention here, and that is the gunpowder plot. The gunpowder plot. Do you know the bonfires which are done on 5th November? Bonfires. Bonfires are actually done, Guy Fawkes. Yes, he was the. It was the name of the plot. So, which of your course novel discusses this point? The gunpowder plot, or 5th of November, or bonfires? Which of the novels? In, yes, The Return of the Native. And in Return of the Native, it is the point when Justicia lights a fire, and in order to attract wildly. So, what is the gunpowder plot actually? A person named Guy Fawkes, and he belonged to the north of England, York, and York is the, as you all know, is the major ancient city, and it was a place where all the monks studied, and it was not to kill Queen Elizabeth. And please don't interrupt now. Where I was. Okay. Guy Fawkes belonged to York, and the northern people have still not accepted the the Protestant Church, or the New Church of England, and they still believe that they have to reconnect with the Roman Catholic Church. And Guy Fawkes was the person who decided to bomb the whole parliament, and he actually wanted to put a gun. He collected gunpowder, and they installed the gunpowder in the deep recesses of the parliament, in the lower portion of the English Parliament, and he wanted to destroy it, but it was not carried out properly. And one of the persons in the plot, who was involved in the plot, he informed one of his relatives not to go to Parliament that day, and later on, the plot was exposed, and Guy Fawkes was arrested. And in his commemoration, they light a fire, they do bonfire, and on 5th of November every year. So this was the insurrection, or you can say this was a plot that was done against Queen Elizabeth, but it miscarried, and Queen Elizabeth was saved. So now I will take a break, and after the break, we will discuss the major writers or the major literary trends in that era, and then I will discuss poetry today, the major poets of the Elizabethan Age. Okay, we come back in about 5 to 6 minutes.